So is anybody else just absolutely fucking exhausted, or is it just me? I feel like it's not just me because I've been talking to clients this week and everyone is in a malaise. I feel so exhausted. I've been like a permanently exhausted pigeon for probably about 2.5, 3 weeks now. Um, I mean, we'll get to this in a minute, but actually, I may have been a permanently exhausted pigeon for slightly longer. Um, I think the good thing about being a coach who, has good tools for like nervous system regulation and burnout recovery is that you basically, once you've learnt those, you get really good at just structuring your life so that you've got a really sane schedule that's sustainable. You don't take on too much, and should you feel yourself getting a little bit out of balance, you just regulate yourself and you just sort it out. So you basically never have problems again, um, which is not true, of course. No, I think it's really frustrating when you're somebody who has a lot of tools and a lot of, I am really good at telling my clients, you've been going too hard for too long, you need to chill, take a week off, like, don't hold yourself to such high standards. Like, you need to just have a little bit of a chill week. But it's really hard to recognize in yourself, I think. And this week, I've had somewhat of an epiphany that I may have driven myself into full burnout mode again, which is not a surprise to anyone who knows me, because I love doing the things and I love taking on new stuff. So like that has to happen, otherwise I will wither and die. But I may have been going a little bit too hard for too long. One of my friends the other night said, "Do you think it's maybe because you've been going for 7 years without any breaks?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe." So basically, I realised the other day when I was with a client that there is a really, like, people have their tells, don't they? And I think when the systems and structures that keep you out of burnout stop working, you don't notice much at first. Everything just gets a little bit overwhelming. You're like, things that once worked quite well just aren't now. Like, you're constantly on your last load of washing. Food is, it's a surprise that you need to eat several times a day, whereas food used to be something that was like quite systematic and well organized, and just, that was like part of your, process to just organize yourself a little bit better. And I think these things sort of get out of hand like a little bit by a little bit. And I have now discovered what my primary tell is. And I'm going to tell you how my socks, I'm going to call it the dysregulation sock index is what I'm going to call it, because I think it was a real, like, I always know that, like, when I get sort of overwhelmed, like doing stuff like laundry, organizing stuff, it just gets a bit out of hand. You're not doing it. You're scrabbling to keep up with life, especially if you go to the gym, because then you have to get changed like 500 times a day. And now doing a new sport, you have specific clothes for that sport that, it's just a whole thing. But anyway, lots of washing, very little motivation to do washing. And what I realised was that the state of my socks can tell you a lot about my mental health at any given time. And I think the other day I was horrified to look down, and I was at the stage of dysregulation where I was actually wearing odd trainer socks. And the trainer socks not only didn't pick up any element of my outfit, but I would say actively clashed with both my outfit and my shoes. And I just thought, like, for me, that is evidence that we are at such a stage of disrepair, that dysregulation has been like almost fully achieved. And it was a bit of a wake-up call, because that is not how I roll. I will have, and it's not necessarily, I don't have to have a pair. Odd is fine, but if it's odd, you've got to make it odd on purpose. Those are complementary colours that also pick up stuff in the outfit. It's not just like two socks, that's not what we're doing here. And generally speaking, it will not be odd socks. It will be something that actually goes with the rest of the things that I'm wearing. And I have a lot of socks, and I have very little excuse for not getting that right. I've got a lot of neutrals, I've got a lot of interesting colours. There's no reason for me to be walking around this world in two odd trainer socks that do not go with my clothes. And I just thought, girl, like, that's a wake-up call. And I'm obviously kind of joking, but I'm also kind of not, in that, like, just sometimes it's just that thing and you just go, oh fucking hell, I am actually exhausted, aren't I? I don't even have the wherewithal at this point to wash and coordinate my socks with my life to make myself happy. And like that has fallen below the standards that I set myself as a human. It's important to me, and it's important to have standards, whatever they are. So that was a bit of a realisation this week, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm really glad that I've made it. And what I would normally do from here is I would go into like super ADHD hyperfixation mode, and I would kind of what would I do? I'd be like, I'm gonna make a list. I'm gonna get up at 4:30. I'm gonna get in bed at like 9:30. I'm gonna get up at 4:30, and I'm gonna be in the gym, and I'm gonna have 7 boxes with me, and they're gonna have all my food in, and I'm gonna be so fucking on it. And actually, I feel like that's probably not the most appropriate way to deal with burnout. And if a client came to me and said, I'm going to do all these things, I'd be like, bro, maybe don't. Maybe give yourself a little bit of a break. So I've decided to do a bit of a 30-day challenge, and it's not a lock-in winter arc vibe. But what I'm doing is I'm going to put myself in my own personal lockdown. So, and what I mean by that is like lockdown was obviously different things for different people. But for me, like, I really relished the opportunity to not have as many things on in a lot of ways, and I got a lot of shit done, and I looked after myself a little bit better, and it was good for my health, and it was good for my like systems and my organisation. So like it was a good time. I'm sorry, I felt awful saying that, because obviously I know that there was a lot of shit that happened, and it affected lots of people, and it affected me as well negatively, but there were also positives that I took from it. And one of those was like, it was actually really fucking cozy to hibernate and to just be like centered in your home, in your routine, in your structures, in your habits. Like that was really healing. And I think probably a lot of the fact that I've done so much since lockdown is probably based on the fact that I established those really good structures, and I was able to establish them then. So so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come on the daily for the next 13 days, and I'm going to ramble about what I've done. I'm not going to set myself smart goals. Why would I? So, I've been through like the psychology of goal setting and behavior change and like that's so much of what I do in my day-to-day life that like I know, maybe a smart goal would be a useful thing, but actually like that isn't. I think at this point in time, I can't really guarantee what the non-negotiables are going to be. I've been exhausted. Whether it put me in a chronic illness flare or not, or whether I had one and that didn't help, I don't know. But, I've just had a load of shit kicking off, and I don't know what I can promise myself in terms of non-negotiables on a daily basis. So what I'm going to do instead is what I would do with any client who was in that situation. And I'm just going to go, right, we just go brick by brick. We know the things that we want to sort out. We know the things that we want to establish. We know the things that, the big rocks, it's like the sleep, the nutrition, the training, the hydration, the getting work in order, the getting your home and sanctuary and clinic in order, if you're me, and just having everything so that it's just establishing the structure around you so that it's a little bit more sane. And I think if I can get those big rocks in over the next 30 days and just be a little bit more comfortable saying no to stuff. Like this weekend, I had to cancel loads of plans that I really wanted to do, which was shit. But equally, like sometimes you just gotta admit that you are where you are and just be like, I can't do that actually as much as I'd like to. So it's been really. I thought I'd get loads done, but I actually just slept a bunch, which is probably exactly what I needed. But yeah, that's the idea now. So I'm gonna. Consider yourself my accountability group. It's a quote that Real Love reposted the other day that lives rent-free in my head. But yeah, you're going to be my accountability group, so suck it. And I'm going to come on and ramble just a little bit about what I've done. I've got a bit of a process. So one thing that I have found useful in the past that is, I'll talk about it tomorrow, but it's a tool that I've used in the past, and I'm going to use it for the next 30 days to just try and build brick by brick some semblance of structure back into my life. I am just, we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I will see you tomorrow, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that and the plan for it.